Welcome to the International Culinary Institute. My name is Chef Humberto Guardiola. I'm one of the professors here, and today we're going to show you how to do a meatless burger. Meatless burger, why? Because we're going to be utilizing every element in this recipe is going to have a really important part on the texture of this burger that is going to mimic both the flavor, the appearance, and texture of that. One of the most important things of this recipe is the textured soy protein, or TCP. All right, textured soy proteins comes dehydrated like you see in here, and what we normally do is hydrate it. All right, we have in here a broth, a vegetable broth that has some flavors like Worcestershire and a little soy sauce. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here and we're gonna hydrate it. Once the water is, or the stock, it is at a simmer temperature, we're gonna shut it off. We're gonna set it apart, and it's gonna take around 20 minutes in order for this TCP to get hydrated and absorb all those flavors. Okay, so now you can see in here how it's starting to simmer. We're gonna shut it off, and we're gonna set it aside so they can hydrate. In here, we already have the TCP already hydrated, and you can see the difference in the color and also the texture. The next thing that we're gonna be doing is we are going to saute the mushroom. The mushrooms are gonna give us a beautiful flavor, and also it's gonna help us have a lot of moisture in this recipe. We're gonna heat up our pan. We're gonna add a little oil, and we're gonna add our mushrooms. We're gonna cook our mushrooms until they are dry. So we wanna take some of the moisture out. Now, I just said that the moistures are gonna help us with the moisture, but we wanna take the moisture out. What does that mean? Well, first thing that we wanna say is that since the mushrooms are almost 90% water content, we wanna evaporate some of that mushroom, all right? And some of that water so our burgers will hold on. If not, once we cook them, they're gonna start disintegrating. All right. So after we have released some of that moisture from the mushroom, you can see the vapor coming out. We're gonna add some onions, and we're gonna get them translucent. All right. This is gonna take about 2 minutes, give or take, depending on the power of your burner, right? In this case, we have a beautiful induction burner, which is really fast. Once our onions start getting translucent, we're gonna add our garlic, and we're just gonna sweat them a little bit so we can develop all these flavors and start getting all the layers of flavors and textures also. Now, while this is going, something that we wanna also say that in addition to the TCP, beans are gonna be an important part of this recipe, because they're gonna add as a binder, but also are gonna give us similar textures when we're biting into this meatless burger. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take these cooked beans. In this case, we're using black beans, but you guys can use chickpeas if you want. Will work really well, and red beans also. I have in here also meat. Meat has fat, right? Fat gives moisture and mouthfeel. So we have in here vegetable fat, hydrogenated vegetable fat, which is going to help us give us that mouthfeel. We're going to add it in here. So an important thing in a burger, when it caramelizes and gives that beautiful color, is the hemoglobin that is in the proteins. This helps the coagulations of the proteins and also the caramelization, what we know as Maillard reaction. Plant has very little hemoglobin. So nowadays, food scientists are creating a fermented heme, what they call HEME, and they are using this to have a very similar texture. We don't have those in here, but we use beets. The beet juice will help us with the pigmentation also of the beet. So I'm going to have beet juice for the umaminess of the meat. I'm going to have in here a little Worcestershire and soy sauce. So finally, we are going to add a little tomato paste, which is going to act similar to our beet juice, but in addition, it's going to have a little acidity, which is going to help with the layers of flavors. Speaking of layers of flavor, we're going to add, obviously, salt. Salt is a flavor enhancer. We're going to add a teaspoon of salt. We're going to have in here a little bit of garlic powder. We're going to add a little bit of ginger, cumin, white pepper, and something that is going to give us a really meaty flavor is a chili powder. Next, we're going to process this, make it into a nice homogeneous mixture, okay? And once this is nice and pasty, we're going to incorporate our TSP, textured soy product. And now that we have a nice pasty, we're going to add our onions, mushroom, and garlic mixture. Okay, we're going to scrape the edges of the walls and the edges of the bowl. And we're going to pulse it again for a few seconds. Okay, we're going to add our TSP, textured soy proteins. And we're going to pulse it for another 5 to 8 seconds to have that mixture. Lastly, we are going to put it in a bowl, and we want to have this mixture set for around 30 minutes to 40 minutes in order for us to have a nice consistency that we want. Okay? So we're going to put this in our cooler. And we have some that has been already set, and you can see by setting, you can see the elasticity and the stretchiness of the meatless burger. That's gonna give us the same elasticity and same similar characteristics of a burger. Next up, all we have to do is just saute our burger. Now, you can saute it, you can bake it, you can grill it, whatever you want. We just want to be careful to know that this is not going to coagulate as the meat coagulates. So it's going to have a little bit of softness in it. So we want to be careful when we are doing this cooking process, right? So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add a little oil, a little bit of butter into this. Okay? I'm going to put the heat just a slight. softer in here so I don't burn my butter. And I'm just gonna start cooking my burgers. Wanna kind of like move them around so they don't stick to the pan. And we're gonna cook them 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes on each side, just to give a nice sear on them. But it's not like a regular meat that you need to cook it to a desired temperature, like medium well or well done. This is already cooked product, all right? So we're heating it up and adding texture. While we do that, we're gonna be serving these burgers with a beautiful Kaiser roll that we made. And we are going to add a little bit of chimichurri to our meat. And for texture, we have some crispy shallots that we cut, sliced, battered, and fried. All right? So now I'm gonna flip them. You can see that beautiful sear that we obtain, very similar to the sear that we get from the proteins. Like I mentioned before, we want to have our saute, shake them a little bit so it doesn't stick, and we kind of have that sear that we have in there. And at this point, I'm gonna add in here my beautiful chimichurri. If you want to be completely vegan, you can do what I'm doing. If you're not interested in being completely vegan, we can add cheese. Cheese always make it better, right? And there's some plant-based cheeses also available in the market. I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna add a few of my crispy shallots. On top of them. And finally, I'm gonna come in here and I'm just gonna plate them up. As you can see, they hold their texture really well. They hold their shape. The texture is really nice and soft, moist, like a regular burger should be. And we have in here a beautiful meatless burger. Qualities, well, we have a nice sear, we have a beautiful texture, moistness. Let me show you the moist. All right, for that I'm gonna bite into it. Very delicious. So I hope you try this in your houses and let us know what you think. Send us a comment and give us your impression. Until the next video.